Hi, I'm Tim Bradner. Welcome to Capital News, and welcome today to Jeremy Woodrow, Executive Director of the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute. Jeremy, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Tim. It's a pleasure.
Jeremy, seafood and fisheries are Alaska's oldest industries, and they've always been with us, and they probably will always be with us. But these are challenging times, and like any industry, there's ups and downs. Where are we now with seafood? And by the way, what does ASME do?
Right. Well, so Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute, or ASME, as we're called across the states, we're the state's seafood marketing arm. We're a public-private partnership between the state of Alaska and the seafood industry. And our core mission is really to increase the value of Alaska's seafood resource through marketing activities worldwide. And we're across the world. We have 10 different regions where we operate. But those 10 different regions comprise of over 60 countries, including the US, which is our key market.
And these are interesting times. What is the outlook now for marketing?
Right, they are interesting times. As we all know, every industry was hit hard by the global pandemic, and we still are out of it. Just looking at how hard hit we were in 2020 and then 2019, we saw our exports decrease by, over that 2-year period by nearly $1 billion. And so that's $1 billion less dollars that are coming to our state through our seafood industry. Now we are seeing a positive outlook. We know that consumer demand is high across the world and people are looking for healthy proteins. That's providing an opportunity to increase that value here back home. But one thing we're also seeing though is volatility in our resource. We're seeing year-to-year fisheries fluctuate quite a bit, and that also impacts the value, and it makes it more difficult to market key species. If I were to pinpoint just one, a good example would be the red king crab closure this last year. And now that has a cyclical cycle where you'll see those numbers go up and down over the course of, say, 20 years, but that does impact the marketplace when we don't have a product to market.
Just sticking with crab for a minute, the snow crab harvest in the Bering Sea was canceled this year. But
it was the red king crab fishery that was canceled. The snow crab harvest is down considerably as well.
Do we know any reason for it being down?
Well, like I said, a lot of these species, we as humans, we live our life year to year, but the other these species, their cycles are much longer than that. And so you'll see mature males and females come in over the course of 2 or 3 years. And so you'll see their cycle kind of slowly build and slowly decline. And so that's what we're seeing in the crab species. I'm definitely not a biologist. I recommend you speak to someone at Fish and Game to get the exact answer on that, but that's as well as I understand it.
But we do have other crab species. We're still harvesting tanner crab and other parts of the state.
We do, and actually, if we're sticking on shellfish, shellfish had a high demand by consumers throughout the pandemic. People were craving those restaurant items, even if they were dining at home, and so they were splurging on certain items. And shellfish actually was a splurge item, and we were seeing some species like Dungeness crab. We were seeing values climb for those quite a bit. And so it's unfortunate that we do have a decline in the harvest of some of our other crab species when it does have high demand right now in the marketplace. But we're seeing that trend carry amongst consumers where they're learning how to cook seafood for the first time or have learned how to cook seafood for the first time. And we're now seeing a increase in retail where we've never seen before. And we're hoping that trend continues as we continue to climb out of the pandemic.
Jeremy, in terms of learning how to cook seafood, this is something ASME does. You have recipes and you advertise as a part of your supermarket promotions. Is this a sort of a constantly evolving process where you're inventing new recipes and new products?
It is a constantly evolving process. Tastes change as well as trends, and trying to make sure that we're on top of those trends. Throughout the last year, we just came out with a bunch of Instant Pot recipes for those that might have an Instant Pot at home. That's a trend that is catching on, as well as an air fryer recipe collection, because air fryers are now collecting space on everybody's shelves at home as well. And so it's important to capitalize on trends. And as both of those products I just mentioned are convenience items, and consumers are looking for more convenient ways, quicker ways to put a healthy meal on the table at home. And that's something that ASME has been on top of from the very get-go, and making sure that our products from Alaska meet those trends and those desires from consumers.
Well, Jeremy, there's also a new, very small industry, but a new one for Alaska is mariculture, or the farming products in the coastal waters. Is this something ASME's helping with or watching?
It's something that ASME is definitely watching. The mariculture industry is definitely in its infancy compared to our wild capture species. Actually, ASME is prohibited by statute from marketing mariculture products. So it's an outdated piece of our statute. And so there actually is a bill in place right now that might change that. And so ASME will be at the ready to support yet another industry if and when that legislation were to come to change.
Yeah. Just getting back to other fisheries that are important to Alaska. North Pacific fisheries like cod, has that been impacted by the pandemic?
Really, all of our species have been impacted by the pandemic. Species like cod, which is a huge export species for Alaska, we're seeing declines in values of those species. If we look at even prior to the pandemic, we had tariff issues across major key markets such as China. And so key species like that are exported and reprocessed. We're seeing those declines, which we had prior to the pandemic, continue to stay down. And it's been a challenge to be able to bring up that value in areas where we have imbalanced trade.
So we're having problems accessing. We were developing a pretty good market in China, and now that's challenged, is what you're saying.
Right. Right. Yeah. So what ASME's key focus is now is helping to look at other areas and help develop new marketplaces in the world, such as Southeast Asia, South America, Eastern Europe, and helping the seafood industry diversify their portfolio and diversify their reprocessing sector across the world, so we aren't so reliant on just one region like we were on China.
Are the European markets still fairly healthy? Are we still
European markets are healthy. We had some small tariff situations there that are currently, we would say there's a Band-Aid fix on that. And so we're seeing growth into Europe. There is some desire in Europe, and we're seeing recovery similar to what we're seeing in the US. We're seeing it in the European market from the pandemic too.
Good. Well, listen, this has been interesting. Seafood is important to us. We all enjoy seafood. We know it's going to be with us. So thank you very much, Jeremy, for joining us today.
Thank you for the time.
Yeah, this is Tim Bradner. Thanks for joining us on Capital Views.